Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Kuli English Podcast. It's me, your host, Chris. So, in today's episode, well, first of all, if you're listening to this and this is like your second episode because you listened like to the previous episode and the previous one had this like nice name, how to learn English using this podcast. Well, then thank you so much for like trying it out, and I hope that this is going to be something that you can continue for a long time. So my goal is not for you to just listen to like one podcast episode or like two episodes. I want you to like make listening to English like part of your daily habit, because if it fits into some kind of small crack somewhere, if it fits into your lifestyle, like maybe just a couple minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, or I don't know, 10 minutes a day while you're on the train or something, then that's probably going to be something that it's going to have a lot of good impact on you later on. Like later on, after you've been listening for like a year or so, I think you'll probably really notice that, actually, I'm better at listening to English. Now, I don't know if you'll get better at speaking English, because speaking is like a different muscle, and you have to exercise that muscle to get better at speaking. But listening, just doing a lot of listening will definitely improve your listening, even though it might not feel like it sometimes. And trust me, I know the pain from like my studies in Japanese as well. So I have a topic for today, but before I talk about that main topic, let me talk a little bit about like being fake. So fake is like the opposite of like real or honest. So for example, if I were to like, actually, I have an example like from my real life, but so if you like shoes, and I like don't really care that much about shoes, but you probably know the brand like Vans. So Vans are like these kind of like, I don't know, street sneakers kind of type thing, and they're not really like exercise sneakers like a Nike. Nike is like a good example of like exercise shoes, or like Adidas or something. Like they're meant for sports or they're meant for running. But then Vans, like they look like they're like kind of okay for exercise stuff, but they're not actually that good. They like match well with like skateboard outfits. But like I like Vans, but they're a little bit expensive, or at least I used to think they were expensive back when I was a student. And then once I went to Taiwan, and then in Taiwan, so Taiwan has like a different like cost of stuff than in the US, right? So in the US, if I were to buy like real Vans, it's kind of expensive, maybe like $50, $60 or something. And then I went to Taiwan, and there's this like underground market area. And it's underneath like the main area. So the main area of Taipei in Taiwan, there's this underground mall called like the actually we're going to try to keep everything in English. So in that mall area, like I saw these things that look just like Vans. And it's these are called knockoff Vans. Okay, they're called knockoff because they're not real Vans, but they look like real Vans. And then their price, I think it was like $5 or $6. It was like dirt cheap. Dirt cheap meaning like very, very cheap. So $5 or $6, like in the US and California, you probably can't even buy like a meal. If I wanted to go out and eat lunch, I'm going to need more than $7. But if you go to the underground mall beneath the Taipei main station, there are like shops that sell stuff that look pretty nice, but actually they're really cheap and they're not the real brand. So that is like a fake luxury brand. It looks like the real thing, but it's actually fake. And you can call it a knockoff. You can call it fake. Maybe it's a little bit negative, but I mean, it's kind of true. They're not really Vans. And then, of course, they don't say Vans. It'll have some logo that looks like the original Vans, but actually it's not the real thing. And you sometimes see these knockoffs in like other places too. For example, like Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton is a famous like luxury bag brand, and I think it's more often the case that girls like luxury bags, but they'll have these really expensive bags, and they'll like line up in really long lines to buy these things. But you can also buy knockoff versions of those where it's not the real brand, it's not the real item, but it looks very, very much like it. So when other people see it from far away, they can't really tell. So, like this is like fake stuff. This is knockoff stuff. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about fake stuff, a little bit about knockoff stuff, and a little bit about how I am fake. And I'll tell you more about that, but after this short little music break. All right, so let's talk about fake stuff. So, actually, I want to continue that story about the shoes that I bought. So again, as a quick little review, there's this brand of shoes called like Vans, and I kind of like how they looked. I don't really have them anymore, but I went to Taiwan and I got some really cheap ones, and they were like $5 or $6. And then I was so happy that I found something that like looks like the way that I want it, and it's also really cheap because I'm like kind of cheap at heart. Okay, cheap at heart meaning like I'm stingy. Like I don't like to spend money. But like deep down, when I buy something that's cheap and it's good, I'm like, oh yeah, like I feel really good about myself. So I felt really good about myself after I bought those nice shoes. And then I think I kept using those shoes like until they broke. So it was like a year or two. But let me tell you about like the reason why I ended up throwing those Vans away. And so this is going to go into this one story. I'm not sure if I've talked about it in this podcast. I probably haven't before. But this is going to be yet another story where I almost died. And again, remember, I'm still here, okay? So right now I am here, which means that I didn't die. So as I tell you the story, like you already know the ending, and maybe that makes it less fun. But when I talk about these stories, like it's a real like experience for me. I don't know. It kind of shaped the way that I thought. But anyways, let's rewind, and I'm going to tell you the story. Okay. So once upon a time, there was Chris, and Chris was going to college. Okay. So I was going to college, and then we all decided, we meaning like me and some friends, we all decided to go hiking. So there was a group of one, two, three, four, five people. Yeah, five people. We're all going hiking, and there's this one hike near the college campus. Like I went to college in Berkeley. You don't have to know where that is, but there is this trail. The trail is like the path that you follow when you go hiking, but this trail is called the Fire Trails hike. And the Fire Trails hike, it's actually not that hard of a hike. So I think most of the hiking paths, like it depends on who you ask, but people who go hiking a lot, like they'll tell you like, oh, this is easy, everything's easy, the whole world is easy. But actually, like for people like me, and I don't know about you, but I haven't really gone hiking that much. So like I don't actually know like when other people say easy, like, okay, so how easy is it? Because like, the easiest thing is like for me to like walk out of my apartment and like I walk to the nearby convenience store. That's a really, really easy hike. But when someone says really easy, what does that mean? And I don't really have a good answer for that. So sorry for asking questions that I don't even know the answer to. But the Fire Trails hike, it's not actually that hard of a hike, and that's based on my personal opinion, and I haven't really been hiking much. But basically, I did something kind of really stupid on the hike. So we're all hiking, and I think we had to kind of like go forwards along this path, and the path is like already decided. Like there's this kind of like a dirt path that you're supposed to follow, and then I mean you can go kind of off the path, but this is like life, so you can kind of go off the path that other people recommend for you, or you can follow the path that people recommend for you, and it doesn't really matter. Like it's kind of your choice. So then we're going and we're generally following the path. And then I had a stupid idea. I was like, wait a minute, why are we following this path that other people told us? Like we are smart. We can find our own path. And then, so what I started doing is I started like kind of, I can see the path and we're going all the way to the right and then we go all the way to the left. And then I could see the part where we're going to get to. Like if we were to follow this path, we would reach that point in about, 5 or 10 minutes. And then I was just thinking, well, you know what? Why don't we just skip this part and then like climb up here? So I'm like willing to put a little bit more effort so that we can get there a little bit faster. And that was my thought process. And I was like, let's do this. And then like, I think my friends were all like, no, that's a stupid idea. Let's not do that. And then I was like, okay, well, suit yourself. I'm going to go up there early and I'm going to wait for you guys, is what I said. And then so like I started like climbing up this path like myself, and it was like kind of steep, and there's like a lot of grass, and you'll never guess what shoes I was wearing. What shoes were I wearing? I was wearing the Vans, the $5-6 fake Vans from Taiwan. So they look like Vans, but they're not actually Vans because they're like fake, and they're really cheap, and I was so proud of them. And then like as I was climbing up, like these shoes aren't meant for hiking. Okay, so Vans in the first place, if you buy like the real Vans, like the best Vans, they're not really meant for hiking. They're meant for like looking good. Like they're meant for looking good while riding a skateboard. Like that's the kind of look. It's not meant for hiking. So you'll never guess what happened. And when I say that, it's like sarcastic. So I say you'll never guess what happened, but what I mean is you can probably guess what happened. So you can probably guess what happened. I slipped, all right? So the shoes went, whew, they slipped. And then like I was kind of like on this little hill. And so I slipped. And then I don't know, I guess it's hard to explain, but when people, so when you or I or like anyone falls, like it's really natural to like, catch yourself. So if you're like going to fall forward, you usually don't fall on your face. You usually like use your hands to like grab anything, or like at the very least, you like use your hands on the ground and then you stop yourself from like boom crashing into the ground. Or if you're gonna like fall backwards, like you like swing your arms naturally. It's a natural instinct. So then I kind of caught myself, but like because it was so steep, because the angle was like kind of a little bit hard, I couldn't really stop just by like grabbing with my arms. So like my hands, they're kind of like in the grass and like the dirt, and it's not that bad. Okay, it didn't really hurt at first. It didn't hurt at first, but then I like slipped a little bit, and then I started like kind of running, and I was like running against my will. So against my will meaning like I didn't want to. What I wanted to do was I wanted to stop, but because it was like at this hill and like my hands were kind of dragging and like my feet, I didn't really know what to do. So the only thing I could do is kind of like basically run a little bit, like kind of follow along and go with it. That way I can still have some sense of control of like where I'm going. And I don't really know what I was thinking in my mind. I was just thinking like, oh, I got to stop. So then I started running, but because it's so steep, I couldn't like slow down my running. So like at first there was like a little bit of running, like, okay, let me try to stop. And then like the running turns into like fast running. And it's like, oh, this is not looking good. I gotta stop. And then the running turns into sprinting. And sprinting is like, it means you're running at like your highest possible speed. Sprinting is like what you do when you're trying to win a race, a short race. And then, so like I went from jogging to running to sprinting, and then I can't go any faster than sprinting. No one can go any faster than they can sprint. So then at some point I like fell, but because the hill was like actually a pretty long hill, like after I fell, it's not like oof, and then like I fall on some pillows and then I'm done. It's like, oh, okay, I'm safe. No, there was none of that. It was actually I kept rolling. So like instead of running with my feet, I was like running with my body. So I was like rolling and like tumbling and spinning and stuff. And I was like, oh man. And then let me tell you, okay, so actually, if there's some really good life advice here that I could give you, and if there's one thing you're ever going to remember from this episode, it's that when you are falling, in any circumstance, you generally just go with it. Okay, so you shouldn't tighten up your body. You don't want to tighten up your body or like try to stop it with your hands. You want to just roll with it. So if the hill forces you to like flip on your back, and you just take it and you continue. And that way, like it doesn't really hurt as much, and you're less likely to break stuff. If you like really really resist and you're like, I'm not gonna fall, I'm gonna stop myself from falling, and you like push and stuff, like that's how you break bones, and that's how you actually get hurt more. So then I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing, because I fell off my scooter when I was a kid in like the second grade, and this hurt a lot. And then after that I remembered, okay, anytime I fall, I'm just gonna take it. So then like I fell down the hill, but then I don't think I've never felt like so much in my life. Like that was the one time in my life where like I kept falling. And because like I fell, I rolled a little bit, and I was like, is this hill ever gonna stop? And then it like didn't really stop for, I don't know, I think I was rolling for like, I don't know, 10 seconds or something. 10 seconds doesn't really sound like a long time, but to me it felt really really long. And then eventually, finally, the hill like stopped having such a steep angle, and it started like leveling out, so it was a little bit more flat. And then so we were kind of further along, and this trail is called the Fire Trails hike. Like we were kind of further along, so it's not like you can just like fall down a hill for 10 seconds and you go back to the start. Like we were actually pretty far. So then after I got to that area where it finally slowed down, like I realized like three different things. Like number one, like there were some trees kind of in the way, and I'm like really lucky that I didn't like bump into a tree. Because if you bump into a tree, that's, how I just said before, when you're falling, you don't want to like try to stop yourself. You just kind of like roll with it, and then eventually you'll slowly stop, and then that's like the better way to do it. But if you hit a tree, there's nothing you can do. You tumble, oof, you hit the tree, it's gonna be really really bad. Like probably something's gonna be broken. So number one, I was like, oh man, I'm lucky I didn't hit a tree. And then another thing is I looked like over the side, and then I realized like the hill, I stopped because the hill stopped being so steep, right? So the hill was like kind of going down, and it kind of flattens out. And then after I rolled my way down to the flat part, then I stopped kind of rolling faster. Eventually I rolled slower, and then eventually I was able to stop. And I was really lucky for not hitting a tree. But I realized that if I had kept rolling a little bit more, just a little bit more, there was actually a cliff. So like this hill was actually like not done yet. And I just happened to hit this like checkpoint, this like part of the hill where it wasn't really steep. So then I went there, and I rolled, and then I was like, oh wow, I'm so lucky I didn't hit a tree. And then I look off to the side, and then I don't know if you know this feeling. It's kind of hard to explain, but sometimes when you're at a really high up location, like a really high elevation, when you're really high off the ground, like, at the top of a tower, or like you're looking out the window of an apartment on a really high building or something, like you get this feeling of like, whoa. And then like you look at the ground and it's like, oh, the ground is far away. And then you temporarily, I don't know, for me, it's probably like a second or 2 seconds or so, like you lose your sense of balance. And I'm like, oh, whoa, 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 am I okay here? And then I remember I looked off to the side, and then it was pretty far down. Like I looked really far, and I was like, wait a minute, that looks pretty far away. And there's like a fence. There's like a spiked fence at the bottom. And then I was just thinking, like, why would somebody put a spiked fence there? And I guess it's so that, if anyone rolls down the hill and then tries to go into this area, like the fence will, it'll stop them. But I was really lucky that I didn't fall off that hill and that cliff, and then like, into the fence, because that, I don't think I would have something broken. I'd probably just, not be here today. But I didn't fall. And that was like the second good thing, right? So I noticed three things. And the first thing was, oh, I didn't hit a tree. This is so nice. I'm like glad that I didn't, boom, crash into a tree. That'd be terrible. And number two, I'm like, oh, I'm so lucky that I didn't like, fall off this like hill thing and then like fall off the cliff and like get speared on the fence. Like that'd be pretty terrible. And then the third thing was like, why does like my butt hurt so much? And so like, all parts of my body hurt from like, tumbling, and I was like bleeding and stuff. But then my butt hurt the most, like my left butt, as if something had like stabbed it. And then I looked at my left butt, and I'm still wearing clothes, okay? So I'm like wearing clothes, but I like lift up my shirt and I look at my butt, and I realized like a stick had like somehow stuck into my butt. And it's kind of funny now that I think about it. Like, even though when I talk about this, like, if you're imagining it, you might be feeling like, oh no, I feel sorry for this guy. But for me, like, it's okay to laugh. Okay, you have my permission to laugh. I want you to listen to the story and think freely about whatever you want. So if you think, oh, this is stupid, you can think it's stupid. That's fine. I don't really care. So anyways, like there was a stick there, and then so I was like trying to go back up the hill. Well, first of all, like I think my friend, she was like, one person was like, "Chris, are you okay?" And then I was thinking like, how is anyone gonna be okay after falling down this? And then I was just thinking, well, when I was in second grade and I like fell off my scooter, and then like I did that thing where I tried to stop myself, and then I ended up like scratching like a lot of my shoulder and skin on the pavement on like the road, and that was really painful. I was like in a lot of pain, and then I cried a little bit, and then I called my mom. I think I called my mom. I called my mom on my cell phone. I have like a little flip phone, a really old phone. I was like, Mom, I like fell. Can you come pick me up? And then my mom like drove the car like, I don't know, 2 minutes to come pick me up, because I wasn't far from home. She picked me up, and then like went home, and then like every time I slept it hurt. But I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking like, ow, I'm in a lot of pain. Like I want someone to come help me. But my mom was really far away from college, because I went to college at a place that was far from home. And then so I was thinking like, after that friend said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I don't know. And I like, checked myself. Am I okay? Do I have any broken limbs? My butt hurts. Oh, it's because there's a stick there. And so I took that out. And then I was kind of like, do you think you can come help me? Is like, I don't know if I said that, or maybe I just thought it. But then the response was, I don't think we can go down there. Do you think you can come up? And then it's funny because it's a very reasonable thing to say. Like I like fell, right, and then there's really no one to blame. It's like kind of my fault. And then if I were like like really narcissistic, so if I like really can't blame myself and I love myself too much, I would say like, oh, it's not my fault. It's the fault of the fake vans. Like they shouldn't have made fake vans. But like before, I already said I was so happy when I bought those fake vans. So I love those fake vans, and it's not the fault of them that I fell. I fell because I tried to take that stupid shortcut. So then I was thinking like, all right, well, it's pretty reasonable that you guys don't want to fall down this path. Seems kind of dangerous, so I guess I'll just go up. And I had no choice, so then I just climbed up like the hill, and it took some time, but like I'm climbing up really slowly, because this time I don't want to slip again. I don't want to slip again because I'm like scared. If I slip, I might die or something, and I didn't want to die. So then I like climbed back up, and then and then after that, I think my friends were like, oh my God, are you okay? And then I was kind of like, I guess so. And then they were like, okay, let's continue the hike. And I was thinking like, I don't want to continue. I want to go home. But, I didn't say that because I didn't want to like hold back the group. This is something that looking back, if it were me now, I would definitely say, oh, no, 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 I'm going home. Because I'm like hurt and I don't want to hike anymore. You guys can like do whatever you want. I got to clean up these like, blood stuff and dirt. But then, at the time I was just like, okay, well, I'll keep going with my friends. So then we just continued the hike. We finished the hike. We took some pictures, not of me because I didn't really look good after the fall. But like there's just like this famous swing. A swing is like in Japanese like the buranko. You like you sit on it and then you swing. It's like the thing that kids play at the park. And there's like one swing at the end of the Fire Trails hike, and then people like took a picture there. Oh yeah, and there's like a sunset. And then oh yeah, you have a sunset in the background. And then like we all went back. And then I had like the most painful shower of my life. Oh, that was the most painful shower ever. It wasn't even like the pain of like walking home. The pain comes from the shower because when you shower, like, water touches all the areas, and those areas were like, there's like dirt and like mud and like small little pieces of wood or leaves on it. Uh-oh, sorry. I got a little timer that went off and then I think it cut off the video. But to continue the story, this whole thing, I'm not saying that like it's the shoes' fault. I'm saying that I was really happy when I bought the shoes, but then now I don't buy cheap shoes anymore just because sometimes it's actually really nice if you can rely on your shoes for good grip. And I didn't want to risk it. So now I just buy like, brand name shoes. I never buy off-brand shoes, even though deep down I have like a cheap heart and I love buying cheap shoes. But anyways, so let's go ahead and take a short little break here, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you about some more stuff. All right. So, in the beginning of this episode, I told you I'm going to tell you about some stuff relating to the word fake. So, fake meaning like not real. And we talked about fake shoes. And then we talked about some other things. Like my big fall. I had a big fall. But I actually do want to talk to you about something a little bit more serious, which is kind of like being fake on social media. So, we live now in a world where everyone has social media. So, like, everyone has Facebook, everyone has Instagram, or if they don't have one of them, they probably have the other. And then there's stuff like TikTok, there's YouTube Shorts. And then a lot of these things, these SNS things, like when you look at it, like you see a lot of, I guess, idealized versions of people. Idealized meaning like they're so good that it might not be real. For example, like people will upload some photos and they'll say like, oh, these are some photos from this like hiking trip that I went on. And then they have like a hiking trip, but they like look really good. And it's like, wow, their skin looks perfect. They don't have any pimples. They don't have any injuries. And their like outfit, it doesn't even match for hiking. Like they basically went hiking to like take pictures. And then they took pictures and then they upload those things. But then, and this is fine. I'm not saying that this is like evil or anything. But what happens is like people might accidentally get some thought in their mind that's kind of like, oh, well, when they go hiking, they look really good. And then when I go hiking, like I don't really look that good. And then this is like a really natural thing, I think, because like that's how we live life. Like we do things and there's this phrase called like a monkey see, monkey do, which means like, monkeys, which I guess are considered like not as smart as people, they're very simple, okay? If they see something, then they do it and they copy it. So like if you like eat a banana and you eat it by like opening it this way, then the monkey will see you open that banana and then they do the same thing. So then they open the banana the same way. Or like, I don't know, if you push a button and then the door opens and the monkey sees that, it goes like, hoo hoo ha ha. Oh, if I push the button, it'll open. And then they do that too. So monkey see, monkey do. And like we as humans, we're just like kind of like smart monkeys. So when we see other people, then like we kind of compare and we think about it. Maybe if I go hiking, I can look good. Oh, maybe if I like, wear good clothes and then go hiking, I'll look even better or something like that. But I think some parts of these things are actually a little bit unhealthy. And so, I'm not a doctor or anything, and I'm not saying that you have to listen to my advice, but this is just my personal opinion. But so in particular for music stuff. I play guitar, right? And then sometimes I have like, singing performances too. So like guitar and singing stuff. And then What I often do is I like hear like stuff on Instagram. So Instagram has a really good algorithm where I'm like being sarcastic. I don't think it's actually that good. But Instagram always recommends to you the same stuff. And so for me, I get a ton of guitar recommendations. And it's like people playing guitar, and then people playing guitar while singing, and some people just sing, or some people like make music in certain ways. And I always think like, oh wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. But then there's like a part of me inside the back of my mind. And now let me also mention, okay, I'm not a professional musician, and it's not like I make like my living from music. So it's not like, if I'm not good at music, then my life is over. No, no, no. Music is just like a hobby for me, and I kind of like it. But some part of me is definitely comparing myself with those people that I see online. And so those people, they play some music and it sounds really good. And then I think like, oh wow, that looks really cool. And then like the unhealthy part is sometimes the people that upload these things is actually fake. And I think that when I realized that it's fake, like I realized, wait, I think I was comparing myself with them. And this is something that might be a little bit embarrassing for me to admit, because I guess, like the most wholesome thing, wholesome meaning like a very good, you're in a good state of mind, and you're like a Buddha, you have a lot of self-confidence, and you don't compare with anything. You don't have any worldly desires or something. But a really wholesome version of that would be to just, look at it and say, okay, that's fine, but that has nothing to do with me. And that's probably the best way to do it, but it's really hard to do it because we're all humans, and we're all pretty, like simple, instinctive creatures. Instinctive meaning like we have these feelings and we want to act on those feelings. I want to compare. I want to sound like that guy that I saw on Instagram. But sometimes there are these videos, and there is this video that I think was kind of getting popular on YouTube, this whole topic of videos where people were talking about fake musicians on TikTok. So, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, and then a different SNS, a different social media system is TikTok. And then on TikTok, it's just like short videos. So then like people will have these like recordings of covers of like, duets or like 4-person people. It's like quartets is what you call them, where you have like 4 people, and then they like do some music stuff, and then somebody's singing like the harmony, and then everything sounds like perfect. But like it's filmed in like a kitchen. So it's like a normal like kitchen at home. And then these people like sing, and then it's like absolutely perfect. And then someone else comes in and it's also perfect. And then like 3 or 4 people sing and it's all perfect. And then it's like so good that it like can't be real. And then like you have these videos of people that actually analyze it, and they're like, yeah, this is like physically impossible. Like to get that kind of high quality audio, you need like a special microphone. So like I use a special microphone for podcasting. You would use a different microphone for like music stuff, because voice stuff sounds different when you're like singing versus just talking. And then so then what happens is like I remember when I watched these videos, I was thinking, oh wow, these people are so good at singing. They're like much better than me. And it makes me think, oh man, I don't think I'll ever sound like that. But then afterwards, some people were looking at the video and they're like, yeah, this is like fake. This is definitely fake. And then I was thinking like, oh, well, I feel a little bit betrayed. Like betrayed, I don't know. I feel like I trusted them. I trusted that they were singing in their kitchen, but actually they weren't singing in their kitchen. They like cheated, and they made the video look like they were singing in the kitchen. And, they just did it in one take. One take, meaning they tried recording it once, and then they didn't have to do a second or a third recording. It was just like all in one take. And it's like, oh, wow. So they must be so good, because if they can do it in one take, that means they do it like at that level normally. So, normal people, they mess up and then have to do it again. So, there's like all this stuff about fake stuff. But I also need to admit that in this podcast, when I talk about things, I have a promise, which is up until now. So, from episode 1 up until whatever this episode is, which is I think 48 or 49, like I have always done all these things like live. So it's not like I go and like edit in different audio and then like, my face is moving, but then actually I'm like, oh, let me put in some high quality audio and let me change it. Like, number one, I don't do that. And number two, if I could do that, it seems like a lot of work. So all these things that I do, they are like a single long take. So it like up until the break section, at least, it's actually just me talking, and there's like no like fake AI stuff. Everything's real. The only thing that I apply for this microphone audio is like volume boosting stuff. So I only mess with the volume boosting. And so that way, like, it's a little bit easier to hear. And it's because the way that you record professionally on like a microphone is you don't want the audio to be too loud in the very beginning because you might actually lose like details of the sound. So then what I do is I record it at like it's like 49% volume. I have like a special microphone, so I have to do 49%. And then afterwards I like boost up the volume. But what I don't want you to compare with is like, oh, so it must be that Chris talks like this always. So Chris's English is always this articulate. And that's not the case. Okay, so that's definitely not the case. It's because I have like notes. I don't have notes this time, but sometimes I have notes on the side and then I look at the notes and then I'm talking. So having notes is like kind of like a little bit cheating, okay? So it's kind of like that music video that I was talking about where people say, oh, like, I'm just in the kitchen and I'm going to sing and then, blah, and then I'm like so good at singing. And then for me, I'm like, oh, I record this podcast at home. So it's like my closet at home where like my passport is, and I have like a trash can where I keep all my cables and stuff. And that's true, but at the same time, I've had a lot of preparation. So like this recording itself, this is recording number 3. I think it's recording number 3. I don't even count them anymore. But like I do it because I want to make sure I have a good version. But at the same time, let me also say, not every version is a good version. So if you catch me on the street, if you see me walking around on the street and then you talk to me, you're like, hey, Chris, can you tell me a story from your childhood or something? Like I can probably tell you the story, but it won't be as clear and it won't be as like easier. It won't be as like high quality as like in this podcast. So I just wanted to be very clear that if you are trying to reach this level of articulation, you need to know that I am cheating. Okay, so I'm using a high quality mic. I'm like boosting the audio so that it sounds like really clear. And then I'm also like looking at notes and sometimes I have like multiple tries, so like 2 or 3 tries. So I just wanted to be honest with you because I don't want to lie to you and make it seem like, oh, I'm really, really good at speaking English. And like I think I'm pretty good at English, but I'm not like perfect, okay? So when I put these things online, when I put these like YouTube videos and these podcast stuff online, I don't want you to compare yourself to it. You can compare yourself if you want. It's good to have goals and it's good to like, challenge yourself in like a positive, exciting way. But I don't want you to think if I can never reach this level that Chris speaks at, then I'm a failure. Okay, so don't think that. Number one, you should pick your own goals and you should have your own standards, and everyone has their own style of speaking and their own like way of, I guess, existing. And I guess even their own thought processes. So some people don't want to talk that much, and that's totally fine. So as I say all these things, just keep in mind that I am cheating and I've been doing this for like over 2 years. So it's a little bit unfair if you're trying to put yourself at this level. But having said all that, definitely, I think it's super, super fun to try and try to go as high as you can. So let's take a short little break here and then I'm going to come back and tell you some even more stuff. All right. So maybe this is going to be the last section. I'm not really sure. I decide when I go take the break. So I take my break off to the side and then I do some claps to like make sure that the audio catches the point at which I take a break. And then later on in the editing, I handle it. You don't have to know these details. But we're probably in this last section here. And I figured, since we just talked about like fakeness and all that, what I want to do is I want to kind of upload a section of this stuff where it's definitely the first try. Okay, so there's this one topic that I really wanted to talk about, but I've had no one to talk about it with because nobody wants to do this thing. And, what better medium, what better way to talk about it than through this podcast? So I'm going to talk about this thing because nobody wanted to listen to me talk about it. And when I talk about this, it's actually my first time talking about it. So I've thought about it a lot and I've talked to myself about it. Like, while I shower, I'm like, oh, what if I try? And then, I talk to myself, but that's just like by myself. And I also am promising you that this run through, and I feel nervous saying this, promising this, but I promise I'm going to keep my promise, that I'm not going to like cut it and I'm not going to like edit it and I'm not going to do another take. And I don't normally cut it or edit it, but I usually do often say like, I always, if you actually look at my raw footage for a lot of the podcast stuff, a lot of the stuff that I end up cutting out, it always ends in like, oh yeah, so then I was talking about ABC, oh, let's redo that. And then I don't think you've ever heard that or seen it because I always cut it out. But I'm not actually going to do that. And if I accidentally do that, I'm going to leave it in this section. But But I got to tell you about this thing that I'm so excited to talk to you about, which is that there's this game that I've been playing, and it's just really fun for me. And so this game, to give you a little bit of background, like I've played a bunch of games in my life, and there are like all sorts of games. There's like the classic games where you like you go and like fight people, and then you level up, and then you beat the boss, and then you win the game and stuff like that. And those are like very straightforward games. But recently, and I made a podcast episode about this before, but recently after I moved to Japan, maybe because I stopped like working as a software engineer at Google, like now I just don't do any programming. So because I don't do any programming, I think there's like a part of me that's like, oh, actually, I kind of want to program. Maybe, I'm not really sure. I don't know myself that well yet. But I did mention before that now most of the games that I play, they're usually like really weird, like games that aren't popular. And what I mean by that is like they are games that I think people just don't really like because they're so repetitive. Like repetitive meaning you have to do the same thing. For example, if I gave you this game and it's like, okay, every day, like every 2 hours, you can come here and you can collect some gold, and then you use the gold and buy stuff. And then, you might be thinking, oh yeah, sure. Okay, I'll collect some gold and buy some stuff. What's so fun about that? And then I say, oh, well, tomorrow if you come back, there will be more gold and you can buy more stuff. And then I think a lot of people are kind of turned off by it. Turned off meaning like they're not interested in it. So they'll be like, okay, well, maybe it was fun like the first day or like the first hour, but now it's not fun anymore. But then for me, something about me, I really like those kinds of games. Like I love calculations, and I also love cheating. So like I'm like, oh, wait. I know exactly what to do. I always collect gold at this time and I always buy this stuff. Well, let me go ahead and make some like, programming things. And then my cheating software that I make will do it for me. And then what I do is like I spend a long time making it, like a really long time making it. And then overnight, or like when I go out to eat or something, I leave it run on the computer. And then like I have this facial expression on my face that's like, oh yeah, I'm getting free stuff. Oh yeah, you keep working, you keep getting that gold. And then like I leave for like an hour and I come back. And my favorite feeling is like when I come back and I'm like, yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. And I want to say I worked for it, but it's not that I worked for it. It's that I cheated for it. So like, yeah, I got a bunch of stuff is probably the correct thing to say. I got a bunch of stuff. I want to say I worked for a bunch of stuff, but I didn't. It was like kind of cheating. So anyways, like that's like the context. Okay. That's like the background of like the kind of games that I play now. So I love cheating in games. And then let me tell you, okay, so there's a very, very fateful event that happened. Fateful meaning like it feels like destiny. It feels like this is what was supposed to happen. And that was, I found this game, and it's a game where you are supposed to cheat. Okay, so it's not like you're not supposed to cheat. Like you're just supposed to tap it, and then if you cheat, it's against the rules. Like that's like all the games that I have played up until now. And then for the first time, I found this game where you are supposed to cheat. The game is called Farmer Was Replaced. Okay, so farmer is like someone who like farms things, right? So maybe they work a farm, and like they're farming potatoes or farming carrots, and then they farm trees, and then they farm pumpkins, or like they farm fruits, whatever. And then so the farmer was replaced. Replaced meaning like, we have now fired the farmer. So the farmer is fired and now you are hired. But the only thing you can do is write code. So it's like a game about coding. And then it's also very similar to Python. So if Python is a programming language. So if you're going to write code, you have to like do it in a language. And then Python is one of the easiest first languages. Like it's what I would highly recommend. If you have never programmed before, Python is a fantastic first language. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to do Java or you have to do C++. I think Python is great. It's the closest to natural like English because you use a lot of that kind of stuff. And it takes away a lot of the hard parts that you really shouldn't have to care about until later on in programming. So anyways, that's the recommendation. If you're interested in programming, do Python. That's what I recommend. But this game, guess what? It's in Python. And then I was like, okay, well, you know what? It was really cheap. It was like $10. So, and $10 isn't even enough to like buy a meal in California. I think you can buy something with $10 in Japan, but not in California. It's expensive. But anyways, in this game, you are supposed to cheat. So you are supposed to write code, and then you're supposed to run the code, and then like the game doesn't even tell you like, I feel like the game kind of like nudges you. It's like, hey, write the code and then just like leave it and let it run while you go eat or something. Like I definitely get that vibe meaning like the feeling. So I get this feeling that it's telling me to do that. It's telling me to cheat. And I was like, oh, I was going to do that anyways. I love cheating. And then it's like I wrote some code. And then it was pretty fun overall. Like I think I basically kind of beat it, but I didn't like mega beat it. And by the way, these phrases are phrases that I think normal people don't use it much, but I use it. So these are like this is like Kuli English phrase. This is a Kuli English phrase here, like mega beat it. Mega beat it meaning like super beat it. Like I beat all the bosses, I did everything, all the achievements, I got it. So I didn't finish that yet because I got really, really obsessed with this one part. Obsessed meaning like I'm thinking about it all the time. Just 夢中になった if it was in Japanese. And so like this one part is farming pumpkins. So there's a bunch of vegetables that you can farm, okay? So first it's like farming grass. And you farm grass, and then if you farm a bunch of grass, and you have to like, plant it, and then you have to harvest it. And then if you take the grass, you can buy better stuff. So you can buy the technology to farm carrots. And then the same thing happens with carrots. And then eventually like different vegetables, like they have different properties. So, for example, the grass is really simple. The carrots are really simple. But the pumpkins, they're a little bit different. Pumpkins do this thing where like if you grow a bunch at once, they combine together. And then you get more pumpkins overall. So it's like really good if you can do that. But it's harder. Because the easiest way to farm stuff is you do it one at a time. You farm this one, and then you finish it, and then you harvest it. Harvest it meaning like I take it out, and then like I serve it, I sell it, or whatever. But then if you plant it and let it get ready, and then around it, you also plant around it, then you get like a big pumpkin. And the big pumpkin is like much better than just individual pumpkins. It's worth more than double. I'm not going to talk about the math behind it, but it's like really good. So if you can do it, it's like even better. You get more stuff. And then like just this pumpkins part, like I've been thinking about this code for like so long because, the first version that I wrote, like I did it and then I got to the next part of the game. And then I was thinking like, actually the code that I wrote, I guess it wasn't really pretty enough for me. And I don't really know if I've had this feeling before, but it's like, I want my code to be beautiful. It's like my art. And like, I don't really draw anything. Like I've talked about it before, but I'm not really a good drawer. I don't really do much art. But then for some reason, this code kind of feels like, oh, like I have a painting and I got to make it beautiful. So then at first I had like this hacked together. Hacked meaning like it's kind of 適当にできた. It's like kind of sloppily put together. It's not very well made. And it got me where I needed to be. So like, it like works and stuff. But then I wanted to make like a really, really good version. So then like oh my God, I think I spent like basically at night. I'm supposed to sleep at like, 12 or 12:30. Like I know that's the right time for my body and like my mind to sleep and stuff. But then when I'm like writing the code, I just kept writing it. I couldn't stop. And then like when I go to bed, I'm still thinking about it. I'm like, oh, what if I farmed the pumpkins by going left instead of right? And then like I'm thinking about all these things. So then so I've been thinking about pumpkins for like over a week now, I think. I think it's been over a week. And then I always have these moments where like I come back after doing something and I'm thinking, oh, okay, so what I can do is I can just double check on a couple different things, check on my pumpkins, and then I'm going to let it run. And then like, around like 11:30, I'm going to go and start and get ready to sleep and stuff like that. And then what happens is like I look at the time and it's already like 2:30 and I'm like, oh, but I'm almost done with this part. And I'm like making like a super pumpkin. And so anyways, I think this is really fun. And I'm not saying that you have to play it, but if you like programming, this might be a fantastic way to start. And programming is something that it probably might come in handy later. So if it doesn't come in handy for like job stuff, which it probably might come in handy for job stuff. If it doesn't, at least it can help you like cheat in games, or it just seems like a generally interesting thing to try, and I would highly recommend it. But of course, it's the most fun if you can try it with friends. So if you can try this pumpkin game and enjoy it with friends, that would be fantastic. But the downside is because I've only done coding in English. All code is like it's in that programming language, so there's no like Japanese version of like programming language or anything. It's all in like English. But because I have worked in English with programming, but I've never like actually worked on programming stuff in a Japanese setting. When I talk to my Japanese friends about like these pumpkins, like I can't express myself. I'm like, me pumpkin good. Me want make more pumpkin. Like that's what it sounds like. I guess like farming pumpkins and then making like automation, like robots, like that doesn't really come up in everyday conversation. So I guess I haven't really developed that part of my vocabulary yet. So anyways, that was this little segment here where I talked about this thing that I've been thinking about. I'm like really passionate about it. I love it, but at the same time, it's not really organized. So definitely, if I were to just like cut this off here and then think about it, I would probably redo it like 2 or 3 times. And then the third version is probably going to be a little bit cleaner. And then I'll fit it into like the previous parts of this podcast. But notice how like this part here, talking about the pumpkins, it has nothing to do with like being fake, really. So it didn't really connect with like the story where like I went up a mountain, I fell, and then like I had a stick in my butt or anything like that. There was no connection there. So then, when I look at this, I think, oh, maybe it's not like that well connected. I gotta fix it. But if I spend too much time fixing it, number one, it takes me time. And then number two, sometimes I might accidentally give people this image. And, other people who are trying to study English, they listen to this and they're like, oh, wow, so I have to reach this level. And I don't want that to be like something that they feel. I want them to know that this is someone who's talking. And this person has been doing it for a long time. And also this person is cheating because they do many different takes. Okay. So normally what I do is like after I finish like a little section, I go back and I check the time and stuff to see the time estimates. But because this time I promised I'm not going to go and do anything weird. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end the podcast here. I'll do the normal ending talking stuff. And then like I'm going to turn off the lights and then I actually won't turn off the audio mic. The mic audio here, so you can like actually hear the real sounds of somebody moving. And I want to do this because I want to appeal that I am like a real person, and I don't want people to say like, oh, he's definitely using AI, like that's not his real voice. Like this is my voice. Although the thing is, AI can listen to this and then copy it. But the thing that AI cannot copy is all of my memories. So me talking about these pumpkins, me talking about having a stick in my butt, me talking about the most painful shower of my life, all these things are things that AI cannot duplicate because these are real stories and I have real feelings behind them. And that's like the appeal. That's why Kuli English Podcast can't be replaced by AI, at least not yet. So anyways, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Kuli English Podcast. I have been your host. My name is Chris. You can also call me Kuli, Kuli-chan, whatever you want. And this is the episode about being fake. But just this one time, I'm going to leave the audio and I'm going to leave everything in while I go ahead and like close down or like when I do the opposite of setup. So anyways, thanks so much for listening. Best of luck with your English studies. And if you have any suggestions or you have any questions about stuff, definitely feel free to message me or email me. My Instagram is the Kuli English Podcast, and I do check that every now and then. So thank you so much and have a nice day.